Hey, AfterBuzz TV fans, we have finally wound down to the very last episode of Surviving R. Kelly Season 2. We're at episode 5 and we're going to be discussing all these charges piling up against the hitmaker. And can we separate the art from the artist? And also, Azriel and Joycelyn's prison calls to their family when we return.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey guys, we're here. We're almost out of here because since the last episodes are Kenneth, hopefully the last season. I don't know if I can take any more of this. Can you?
It probably won't be the last season. Probably
my
won't.
gosh. Hey guys, I'm your host, Angele Taylor, and I am here with my number one for this particular panel. This is my boo, Kenneth Ware. Hey.
Hello, hello.
And we will be talking about the very last episode of Surviving R. Kelly Season 2. And let's get right into it because there's so much to talk about. I wanted to start off by talking about the Gayle King interview. What were your overall thoughts about that particular interview?
It was shocking from beginning to end, but Gayle held it down like the first letter in her first name, like a capital G. She held
That
it
was a
down.
good one.
She held it down. But you could just really see that R. Kelly is troubled, and she reminded me of like an auntie. Like she didn't flinch. She was just like R. Kelly.
Yeah,
Kelly.
right.
Very just like
Simmer.
yes, straightforward with him, and he needed that I guess black motherly type figure to kind of reveal those things. I don't think we would have got that same energy with Diane Sawyer or another interviewer. So
Absolutely. She definitely had me like, Gil, you're not gonna move out of his way. Like you're gonna just sit there. He came out like uproaring and swinging and all basically in her face to where I thought he like came a little closer and I thought he may have connected because it was just that frantic and that like loose. He was a cannon.
yeah, and all the
it
victims
scared
also
me.
said that, like you said, it scared you. The victims also said while they watched it, like Geronda said, like, that's the R. Kelly that I know. That's the
Exactly.
man that we know. This isn't the man that's singing Step in the Name of Love and all these other songs. That's the monster that we know. So I think that was the first time that we were all able to see that. And if you were watching that, you definitely felt that as well.
Definitely. R. Kelly's public image is really laid back, playboy, smooth, unbothered, and that's really how he's been playing all of his cases for the past 30 years. He has seemed to be very unbothered. And then we find out from all of these interviews that he's actually threatening and going through great lengths to destroy his victims' lives.
Yes.
So we just know that there's like such a dichotomy going on between his personalities and what he represents to the world and who he really is. So I just thought that was just one of those things where you really got to look into this artist and see who he was without all of the glitz and the glam and all of this shine. Like he's crumbling right before our eyes.
You definitely see the man behind the music and the
little boy.
The little boy.
Because he was crying out.
Yes, crying out for help, and he crumbled, like you said, in front of our eyes, right on that Gayle King interview. Like, and that's what needed to happen. That we needed to see that, and I mean, it's just so much to uncover with this. So many layers in this case.
Let's talk about the Stockholm syndrome.
Let's talk about it.
And I really believe that every single one of his victims is affected by this syndrome. Stockholm syndrome, we looked it up, and it is feelings of trust or affection felt in many cases of kidnapping or hostage taking by a victim toward a captor. So they're empathizing with their captor. They are basically not in a space of reality to where they realize that they are the victim. They really feel like the captor is a victim. The captor is a victim in this case, but he's also the monster. So I just really feel like every single person that was involved with him in these interviews still love him and still have some affection towards him.
These women still have empathy for him, and I
Mhm.
think it goes back to the manipulation and him building that trust. They all stated in previous interviews that he told them about his sexual abuse or
Right.
how he was mistreated as a child and his experiences to kind of draw them closer together so that they felt that connection. So even as you watch these women talk and they say, I still love him, I still love this man, I love the little boy in him, and you see that it's just very disturbing. But they've lived with this man for so many years.
Yes, they know
and
his very intimate secrets and different parts of him that the world hasn't been able to tap into. Just like Tiffany, she was the first victim,
yes,
and she says that she doesn't want to see him hurt, and she was the first one. And so she was like, I really do just see a 15-year-old boy in prison and not, a mad monster.
and it's like, no, this is a grown man. R. Kelly is what, 52
Two.
years old. This is a 50-something-year-old man. He's not that little boy that he used to kind of build that connection and manipulate these women. But you see that in this, that a lot of these women still love him.
Yeah, I don't know what he has going on. And I don't want to know what he has going on, but it is very powerful, obviously. Let's go ahead and get into his godlike complex and how he's able to be the Geppetto and pull the strings on these women and having them say whatever he needs for them to say while they're on the phone with their parents, and being able to like cue them and no, don't say that, and don't tell them we're here, and tell them you're happy, keep it short. It's almost like it is a hostage situation. I felt very much like it was a movie in a hostage situation when I did hear those personal, private phone calls between Azriel and her parents and Joycelyn and her parents. It just didn't even seem real.
Yeah, it was, and it definitely was real, and it was devastating to see and to watch. I think it was one of the Joycelyn interviews where you see like a man's hands like kind of maneuvering,
The
and
shadow,
like
the shadow of his hands.
Yeah, and it's like, is that Kale's hands right there, or is that one of his handlers, or like what's happening? But to just see them kind of, one of the parents mentioned that his daughter just seemed like she was in a trance.
Yes, and then she heard her little sister, she snapped out of it, and then she got right back in.
Right.
Because he was basically steering the conversation.
Yes.
R. Kelly, like, I could just imagine him steering the conversation where he's like, get back on the phone with your parents now.
Yes.
Get back on the phone and get off of it now. Like, I just saw that whole thing playing out, and I'm just like, oh my God. It was so intense for me. Before we get into all of this heavy stuff, Ken has something to share with you guys.
Yes, we'd like to thank you, all of you, for making us the ESPN of TV talk. You're watching us on YouTube right now. Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, comment. If you're listening on iTunes, give us 5 stars. Thank you.
Hey. So let's run down this list of these charges. So his first charge, child pornography.
Yes.
Obviously. We
Yes.
like to videotape sexual escapades with 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. The list goes on. Obstruction of justice.
Yes.
That's pretty obvious what he's doing with the tapes and the hiding and all the other stuff. I mean, I can't even imagine all the covering up he has to do just to hide all of these skeletons.
It's like telling one lie, you have to tell another lie and another lie.
And you have to get so many people involved,
So
right?
many
It's like
people
a
involved.
community.
And I mean, it's basically like with the racketeering charges, just because he was using his entourage and R. Kelly Enterprises to grab these women and get them at the concerts and find women. Like the kind of common story, the common denominator between these women, they had hopes and aspirations of being singers. Like that's kind of the first thing you see. Then all of a sudden, Joycelyn and Miss Clary, they're on talking to Gayle and like, oh no, we never wanted to be singers, or
I know,
we
that
never
was
wanted
so
to sing.
fake.
And it's like, well, we have all these videos, and Like, there's no connection with that. So it's just like, it's all about that control. And even as they were speaking to Gayle, like, it's just kind of like they're in unison and they're no, and they're kind of going off of each other.
It was rehearsed. It was definitely
rehearsed. Like a 12-hour rehearsal. Like,
yeah,
goodness.
and Azriel, she sings so well.
She does. She has a beautiful voice.
Oh my gosh. Like, I want that to happen for her. I do want the singing career to become reality for her.
Yeah, I mean, all of those girls, a lot of those girls had beautiful singing voices. And I mean, that's also showed his control tactics. Like, he used that to kind of weave his web of lies between these women.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into this conversation about how we keep laughing. We've laughed off these very uncomfortable moments and things. Like, whenever we find out something about R. Kelly, it turns into some type of satire, some joke, some type of thing to brush off and forget about. Even with him marrying Aaliyah at age 15, and it was publicized.
Yes.
And it was confirmed. And there was a certificate. There was an actual marriage certificate where her age was fabricated to be 18.
Right.
These are conversations that need to be discussed, and they were kind of brushed under the rug until further notice.
Yes, it's been nearly 30 years, like 30 years of laughing at, making jokes about R. Kelly. I mean, even after the Gayle King interview, you had Leslie Jones and Kenan Thompson, reenact that on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And yes, people laughed at it. It was funny. However, you have these survivors and these women that this actually happened to them, and it's still happening to them. So it's like, when do we stop laughing at this joke? I mean, it was, like you said, it was well documented that R. Kelly married Aaliyah when she was underage. This was published in Vibe magazine, which was one of the most popular magazines back in the day.
Right.
This was published in
You
the
remember
magazine.
Vibe?
Yes. I remember running to the mailbox to get the Vibe magazine.
Wow.
But this was published in a magazine, and we're still, I Believe I Can Fly, and all these other things. So it just really makes you look at ourselves and everybody around us like, we did not protect our girls.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things. Do you laugh when you get uncomfortable?
Yes. Sometimes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
that.
I think, well, that's my natural reaction too, but this is really making me do a self-analysis here.
Yes.
Like, why am I laughing?
Right.
And to really dig into the psychosis of why America is laughing.
Yes.
And why do we think something like this could possibly be funny when, just because it's not happening to us, just because it's not happening to our daughters, just because it's not happening to our family members, someone that we actually love, we would not be laughing.
Not at all. And it's definitely not a laughing matter. But America has been laughing at this for nearly 30 years. And now that there's all these federal charges and he lost his record deal, and now it's like, oh, now we're going to take this serious, which I would say we can give a lot to that, to the Me Too movement and Time's Up, where people are just tired.
Yeah.
And things are just not going down like they used to.
Right.
And the antics that R. Kelly did back in the 90s, like, we're not dealing with that anymore. So somebody mentioned that it was his karma, and it just, things kind of come full circle. So it'll just be interesting to see where this leads in 2020 and beyond.
Yes, whatever's done in the dark will come to light. And that's for all of you out there, including me.
That's for everybody.
So are you able to separate the art from the artist? Are you going to completely stop listening to R. Kelly music and music that he has written?
So this is the truth. Was one of the biggest R. Kelly fans.
I think we all were.
When it's from like 12 Play. I remember sneaking to listen to the 12 Play album because my stepfather had it. And I remember...
And you weren't supposed to listen to those nasty lyrics.
Was not supposed to be listening to it. It seems like you're ready. I didn't know what he was exactly talking about, but I was like, well, I guess I'm ready.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I'm done.
But like, all his albums, like those are classic R&B albums. TP2.com, Chocolate Factory. There's just like he's a hit maker. It's just hit after hit after hit.
Right.
And we have to. I think that's a personal decision. Now, me personally, I have not listened to. I will not stream R. Kelly. No matter if I want to listen to I Believe I Can Fly or whatever it is. Like, even if it's a non-sexual song, I still feel a way about it just because I know that if I stream this on Tidal, if I listen to this on Apple Music, that's putting money in his pocket.
Right.
And that's a sexual predator. That's a pedophile. Like, I'm not going to do anything to support him.
Yeah. So who would you replace instead of R. Kelly music? You trying to get your groove on, you trying to set the moment, but you want something really slick and sophisticated. So not saying that his music was sophisticated, but it was on that like GQ type swaggy level. So who is a comparable artist to you that you would play instead?
I don't think I would say that I could replace R. Kelly with an artist. It's just like
not
remove.
That you would replace, but who
just
would you listen to instead?
So today I listened to Jacquees.
Okay.
So that was cool.
That's a good one.
That was a good one. It's a lot of different artists. I'm an old school.
I'm old school,
person,
so I would have said Donnell Jones. I would have said Joe.
Definitely.
I would have said, hey, like we can even put some John B in
there's there's so many other artists that you can listen to. I mean, even taking it back, let's go to Marvin Gaye. Like you can take it way, way back.
Yeah.
So there are replacements for those who think like I don't want to replace R. Kelly. He got no. There's other people that you can listen to.
Yeah, it probably won't hit the same because he is the hit maker, and I'm one of those people. I can separate the art from the artist. I can appreciate a song for what it is and how it has contributed to different places I've been in my life, because I'm one of those people that associate music with wherever I was in life at that moment. And so it does take me back and very nostalgic certain songs. And I can tell you exactly where I was, maybe even what I was wearing and who I was with.
Especially with a song like I Believe I Can Fly. Like that's a graduation song. Like you've heard that at countless graduations. I've heard R. Kelly songs at weddings where this may be a couple's. Like there's a couple right now
he has a lot of staples. Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's just a personal decision. If you decide that you want to separate,
to mute R. Kelly, then hey, you got a whole massive support system out there. And if you want to continue listening, I mean, nobody should be judging you for that either. I mean, it is art, and then it's the artist and his decisions.
Yes.
So it is what it is. What do you think a proper punishment for R. Kelly would be at this point with all of these charges and all of these testimonies and everything out on the table? What do you think a proper punishment would be for him?
At all of these allegations and charges and all these women that have come out, and as Gloria already spoke about, I mean, there's so many charges, like over 26 in like other states.
Yeah, I was about to say,
like
which state are you talking about?
And it just depends. I mean, he was on a worldwide tour, just really doing the most, doing the full, and it caught up to him. So I think at this point, like, he's victimized these women for over 30 years. So, I mean, it just looks like that he will probably, the Pied Piper might be heading to prison this time. Like, I don't think he's going to get off of this easy.
Let's talk about the families of Joycelyn and Azriel. I did notice that there was a difference between the way the families were handling this grief and this trauma. They really did feel like they lost a family member, because for years at a time, they went without seeing a family member at all. Right. Even Dominique, she was with R. Kelly for 9 years. She lived with him for about 4 or 5 years. So imagine going that long without seeing your family. And then your little brother turns into your big brother because he was shorter than you and now he's taller than you. So I noticed that Joycelyn's family, they were rooted in spirituality,
Yes,
and they
they
were
were.
very strong, and they seemed like it united them. You saw how they got the sisters involved, and the sisters were helping the parents, and they were like down for the cause, and they wanted to talk to Joycelyn and try to bring her home. So they weren't passive about it at all. They were very active in trying to get their loved one home. And then we have Azriel's family, and it seemed to crumble the family. It seemed like there
Yes.
was a disconnect, and Azriel's brother was talking about how the mother is heartbroken,
Yes.
and there was a significant difference between the way those two families were handling the grief.
And I think it just everybody deals with pain and trauma differently, and it just depends on, like you mentioned, that family, the Savage family. They were rooted in spirituality. You saw them praying together,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a mission. And I'm not going to say all those families have a mission, but it's
Right.
just how they go about on their journey. So it's just really good to see that that these girls have this family support in spite of everything that has happened, and that
Mm-hmm.
they're still fighting for them. And it just really shows the love of a family. Uh, and you just don't know what cards will be dealt to you, and you just like, how does a parent prepare for something like this? Like, the one of the world's biggest superstars has my daughter hostage,
Yeah.
and it's just like there's no guidebook to how to handle that. And you see these families struggle with it, and it's from the brothers, the sisters, the aunts. I mean, there's so many people involved. So it also shows that R. Kelly not only victimized these girls, but how he's just affected all of these
The
families.
families.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, my most shocking moment was when Azriel, her brother, gave the account of how him and the mom were on stage during an R. Kelly concert. First of
Yes.
all, they paid for a ticket.
Hmm.
Second of all, they stayed for the entire show.
Yes.
They watched the entire show. Azriel is apparently on stage. They can see her.
Yes.
And then there comes a time where the mom had an opportunity to come up on stage, and she did.
Mhm.
And she's trying to work her way towards her daughter. And then security pounces on her.
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
This sounded like a scene from a movie.
From a movie.
Like, it's just like the fact that y'all had to go to these,
The greatest of lengths.
yes, to snatch your daughter up and still be, your daughter's still there. And they said that the bodyguards kind of separated them, and the brother, one thing that was very touching, he was like, I've never seen my mom, like his mom was so
Helpless.
broken and helpless.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he really wants his sister to return, and it's more for to see his mother be restored to just some goodness. And it's just like all of these families, you just hear in their voices, and just like one of the fathers like not celebrating holidays, and just really they're putting their full effort to bring back their girls. And
Yeah.
it's just like, how do you celebrate
Staying
Christmas or New Year?
distracted is
Or-
what Joycelyn is.
Yes.
No. Is what Azriel's dad did.
Yes.
He stayed completely distracted to
Right.
where his employees were like, "Hey, make sure he sleeps
Yes.
because he is like on one at work, like not sleeping and just like working all the time." And that's just his coping mechanism for this type of grief that he's undergoing. And his wife, the marriage is crumbling.
Yeah.
And the son is suffering. I could hear the fact that Azriel's brother was suffering and
Yes.
felt helpless. He didn't know what to do, and it's like she's so close, but she's so far.
Yes.
And then they knew exactly where the girls were, Trump Towers.
At the Trump Tower.
It's like that glass ceiling where you can see it, but you can't touch it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine.
I mean, it's just disheartening. And over this entire season, like even after season 1 ended, it's like, okay, it's a season 2. Like, what's going on next? But as you hear these countless stories, more women, and it's still ongoing, and it's like, what do we do? What has to happen? That, like, we've hit the ceiling. Like, what is going to happen to R. Kelly? We're at the point like, what's happening next? Is he like,
What is happening next?
We can't
real,
have any more albums. Like, no, that's not happening. So that's where we're at the end of this.
So even though Joycelyn's parents are united in the cause, Joycelyn is the one that is the most rebellious in coming back to them and having a normal life outside of R. Kelly. And like, how do you feel about that?
It's kind of like it's always that one, and it's like she is very. I would say she would be like the leader of all of. If we talk about like the sisterhood, how all these. But
Azriel seemed like she had such a strong personality. Like, I feel like Joycelyn is really high up on the loyalty kick. But I felt like Azriel could have possibly been a leader. She seemed to be more vocal. I mean, even with the Gayle King interview.
I would say that Joycelyn was more just because she's older. Because when we talked about the Instagram fight they just had the other day, and Miss Clary brought up, like, I was a minor when
you engaged in
sex with me.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's an older woman and definitely plays that. I would say she was like leader on loyalty and everything else. Like, she would be the top girl in the house, what it seems like, which is why she's still there.
Yeah. And the pictures that they have, I mean, if you just Google pictures of them, they're holding hands.
Yes.
Like a sister couple type of,
sister wives
type. This bond is strong.
Yeah, and I think they all formed a bond. I know Dominique, she spoke on it. About it, but just I think when you're living in that situation and you just have people that you can connect with,
you keep each other alive.
Exactly. And that you hit it on the nail. They're
survival
keeping each other
mode.
Alive. Yes.
Wow, guys, this is getting so hot and heavy. Let's have a little lighter note, and Ken is going to hit us with the news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
All right. So what we have today for the news and gossip is so Joycelyn Savage has been. Do we have the photo? We do have the mugshot.
She had a fight with her girlfriend, Azriel. Oh. Now, that was that marriage certificate I was referring to earlier with Aaliyah, if she thumbs back a couple of photos.
Okay, so we'll just speak on the Joycelyn Savage after the fist fight. So she reportedly went back to her family and stayed for a few days, but now she's back at the Trump Tower. So we don't know all of the details. However, the Savage family were able to spend some time with her for a few days before she made the return back to Trump Tower. So that's still an ongoing case, and it looks like she's still supporting R. Kelly.
Yeah, so that right there, I actually highlighted age 18 on there, showing how they fabricated the marriage certificate when Aaliyah and R. Kelly were married back in, what was that, 1994?
This was 1994, yes.
Yeah. So, guys, I mean, this thing is, it needs to be put to bed. It is very old, and it's getting, like, so out of control. And it'll be even more out of control if they go for a season 3
of
Surviving R. Kelly.
Because he's going to court in April.
Is that your prediction? Are we going into predictions?
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So your prediction is that we'll be possibly going into a season 3?
It will definitely be a season 3, just because he has court in April, and there's just so many new things to uncover. I mean, it seems like every day you hear something new. Regarding this man, Robert Sylvester Kelly.
Come on.
As he was stated his name, his whole government name. The father was not playing with him. But yes, it's definitely season 3.
My prediction is the same. There will definitely be some more juice to come out of the story. There are quite a few court dates we have this year. It's only the top of the year, so it's about to get crazy. And with Joycelyn still being in his compound, I think some other things may come up as well. I think the evidence is gonna come full-fledged and wide open for all of us to see. More dirty laundry will be aired, and I mean, it is what it is. It's R. Kelly.
And I mean, we should all stop. I mean, one thing I heard was the victim blaming. We should all stop blaming the victims.
Stop blaming their parents. Stop blaming the victims.
Yes.
It's like, judge yourself, people. Judge yourself.
And the goal is to help all the victims. And help, not blame.
Tear each other down. And that's what's wrong with us today. We just love ripping people apart and finding their insecurities and poking at it. Like, why? When we can patch up those wounds.
Yes. With
positivity and prayers. Come on, people. Let's bind together during moments like this.
Please.
Sorry, I had to get on my little church kick there. I am very Southern, you guys. So this really hurts me. Even covering this particular show really touches me in so many different ways, as I am a parent, and I can't even imagine what they're going through and how these women are victimized, and just the things that play out in their head on a day-to-day when they close their eyes to rest.
And knowing that this is just not a R. Kelly problem, this is a problem worldwide problem, and just the system and how they have failed these girls and women just over the years. I mean, it's all come to a head. I mean, he has all these charges, but it's like, why did it take so long for us to finally listen when he married a 15-year-old in 1994 that was well documented?
And why are we ostracizing people that are now women, but they went in as children?
Yes.
Why do they deserve to be ostracized when they weren't even old enough to make a sound decision?
Yes.
So that'll be our closing for Surviving R. Kelly. This has been season 2, guys. And you can catch me, your host, Angele Taylor, on Instagram. I am Angele Taylor _. And where can we find you, Ken?
You can find me on all platforms, Kenneth Ware. That's Kenneth Ware, W-A-R-E.
And until next time, we'll see you later.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.